Hey guys, so today I'm going to be going through our Mythic Painsmith kill. And like normal, I'm not going to be explaining all the mechanics and what they do, but more of how we chose to deal with the mechanics. So the first decision you're going to make is comp. Um, every guild's pretty much running 4 healers for this fight, but there's two main comp decisions you have to make. The first one being is how many movement speed abilities do you want for Intermission? We chose to run 4 classes that can provide movement speed increases. So 3 druids for Roars and then 1 shaman for Windrush. That is a little bit overkill. You can get away with 3 just fine. If you have 2, you're going to be at a pretty severe disadvantage. The other important comp decision you have to make is in last phase, one of the tanks is going to have to do a very hard tank drop off where there will be a wave of balls coming at them and they have to find a way to get through the wave of balls, right? So in the world first race they had paladins for pops. You can use things like Night Fae Blink or Vent or Teleport. There's some other like really cheesy things you can do, but I think what the easiest is to pull off is if you have Avenged Demon Hunter. They can glide around the ball and that's pretty simple. So to start, we pull the boss this corner, and for every phase, there will be what we kind of called a home base. So that is where after the mechanic happens, like you're dodging a wave, you are breaking through a wave of balls, you always go back to home base. And what's important about home base is going to be the relevance to where the tank drop off is. But what's more important is... Yeah, sorry, I forgot to place markers, and you can hear me like realize it. What's more important is that the way the tank drop off works. So I'll play for a little bit longer. So if we're in this corner, and P1 and P2, the tank always wants to go to the opposing corner of where the majority of the raid is, and the tank does not want to screw over any of the players with the chains. So, for example, if the tank were to go to like this corner on the top left, the purple marked player would take like an abnormal amount of damage from the tank drop off and they'd probably die. False. So the first important thing is getting good damage on the balls in pretty much every phase. So in P1, since you have to dodge a wave of spikes or anything, you can just instantly go to these balls. Add place markers. Go through. So you can see this go through, and players will go back to this home base to place the traps. The corner. Then go for traps. And for us, we just had whatever tank was tanking the boss was responsible for breaking the traps. So I break these because he's about to leave. Ball. Ball. Let's go through. So in most of our polls, and what we based our P2 push timing off of was beating this next tank mechanic. In like the world first race, and for some guilds, it is still optimal to push the boss as he's channeling tank mechanics. The way it works is the boss phase is at 70%, but if he's channeling his throw during that entire channel, you can still be milking the boss past 70. He's not going to phase until after it goes off. Like I said, we would generally beat this, and our P2 push timing almost got screwed over by our fast push, but it ended up working out, obviously. So we get the boss pretty low, like 67.5. Much feet. So the first kind of bit to intermission is setting up the interactive target mouse over macro. So I have a macro, and basically I press my macro and it sets whatever my mouse is at to my focus target, and then I have a keybind that interacts with my mouse over target. So what you want to do is you want to have all players set their focus to the gate and then have the keybind set up to interact with their target mouse over. because you have to be able to take this gate kind of a high pressure situation. The other element to intermission is I think you need a clear leader on coaching players where to go next. But the most important part about intermission is calling out the baits and then having one player kind of set the base or the pace for the raid. So for intermission, you can see I'm marked with blue, and our general rule of thumb is try not to be ahead of blue. Like, it's okay if you're behind blue, but if you are ahead and you bait wrong, you can kind of screw over the entire raid. It's baits. Going left. So I always call it the direction, baits, and then baits. Going right, look at ball. Ready to baits. The other important piece of information that I tried to get into players' heads, and I think most players understood this, is the way that you have to view the room, particularly during intermission, is you always want to be doing your movement inside of a quadrant, right? So you shouldn't look at how far away you are from a mechanic, like how far I'm away from the spikes or how far away am I from the ball. What you should do is use this square as like your reference point. So if I were to be like hugging this left square, I could feel like I'm pretty far away from like the ball or from like the wave of spikes, but all the mechanics will take an entire square at once. So if I'm on this edge and like the spikes are over here, as soon as they go over here, I'm on the edge, I'm dead, even though it feels like I'm far away, right? Go through, going towards middle, create a bait, go through, stay, go through, watch in front, middle, bait, go through, watch, going right, bait, and you're going back towards gates. So the way that this mechanic works is a lot of the times there will be, and it's not every time, but a lot of the times there will be a clear path somewhere near the middle in this wave of spikes. So what I would always try to do is I would bait the Ember mechanic away from this path, away from the middle, and then once the Embers are coming out, I step in the middle, and then I take the gate. I think what a lot of players put themselves up against in terms of like their timing to take the gate is beating this wave of spikes, which you do have to do sometimes, and I think it happens in RP too. But the big thing is you have to take the gate after the Embers actually spawn, or like the swirlies actually go off, because what will happen is there's players baiting here in the middle. So if I were to take the gate before these Embers blow up, and like I'm in the air when these blow up, I will die to it. You can gate over spikes just fine. You can never bait, or you can never gate over these Embers. Baits. Gates. So you gate as soon as they land. Move. And the big bonus to everyone taking the gate, and if you have it set up properly, and it will take some prog time, is that it guarantees if everyone takes the gate, all the ads will spawn at the same point, which is really, really handy for TPS. So for this phase, this corner over here is our home base for the entire phase of P2 and for the entire phase of P3. Okay, be on ball. So for this phase, you want to stay on boss until ball spawn. We just kind of happen to get really lucky ball spawns here. But sometimes you have to play it patient and stay on boss, and then after the tank mechanic goes off that you want to swap to the boss. Ball, ball, ball. And this first set of balls, and I think this is like a misstep on our end, is every DPS player is going to be popping all of their CDs on the ads for the most damage, right? But this first ball and second intermission would take us the longest, and if it takes too long, you'll die, right? And even if it doesn't kill you, if you're slow on this ball, it makes you feel like you're under a lot of pressure with the incoming wave, which you'll see. Get this ball on, guys, please. Get ready to dodge. So, at least from a tank's perspective, whenever you don't have the tank debuff on you, the boss doesn't hit very hard. So what I would always prioritize is dodging whatever mechanic is coming, and if that means I have to get hit in the back for a few seconds, so be it, right? What's more important is I don't get hit by the wave. Let's see traps back in the corner. Another thing to note is that it doesn't really matter if you're in like the farthest corner possible from the raid. What is the most valuable thing you can do is just make sure you're standing in the middle of this square. If you're off to the side, all of the next quadrants near you as a tank are going to fill up with spikes instantly and you'll die. And then for me, some pulls I place my Transcend and Transcend back to the boss, but all of P2, and I'd even say all of P3, it's not a DPS check, it's just a mechanics check. So I would just play it ultra slow. This way I can get like a good view on the raid. And particularly like if you're tanking and raid leading, you can kind of help coach players while they understand the Shadow Steel and look at the wave chains mechanic.
Look at ball.
So we got really lucky twice in a row with these ball spawns. They're right on top of boss.
Ball, ball, ball. Go through, get ready to dodge.
So the way it worked for us is the boss phases at 40%. Like I said earlier in the video, we generally didn't get that extra milk of 2% in P1. And this changed the way that we ended up pushing the boss. So we ended up skipping this trap set altogether. While the boss is channeling the hammer, he's not going to do any other mechanics. So he's channeling the hammer on me. We push the boss the second it's done, and we skip this trap set. Like it almost hard screwed us. If we were like a second slower, we would have gotten the traps, have to break them while intermission is starting. But our normal push timing would be to beat hammer 5. And basically for the push timing from P2 to P3, you just don't want to overlap when he actually phases with other mechanics. Here, it's kind of like a soft overlap. Like this wave of spikes is really easy to dodge with the way we pushed it. But you definitely want to beat, in my mind, you definitely want to beat hammer 5 and spiked balls 3.
Wait, hold on. It's fine. So you guys are going to have to dodge this wave.
So we push faster than we normally do. I call it the raid, you're going to have to dodge this wave.
Look at the wave. Watch your feet.
And then if you have Resto Shaman, I highly advise that they run APT. So for early prog, we obviously used it for Intermission 1, and then for our kill pull, we used it for Intermission 2.
Gary debates.
Second intermission is the same exact as first intermission.
Get ready to bait. Go through. Going right. Look at ball. Get ready to bait. Go through. Going left. Get ready to bait.
So it can get like pretty dicey here. And you can see if you're like really exact in your positioning with how we're going through intermission. It's like everyone had to be on the square, otherwise they get hit by this spike.
Go through. Going middle, you can go through. Go mid. Bait, go through. You're going right. Bait. Go through. You're going back towards gate.
So here you can see that the open path is going to be on the side for this pull. So we got slightly unlucky on that front, but the same philosophy still applies. You absolutely wait for these to land before taking the gate.
Res Mizaki, and definitely move.
So we had 2 deaths, but we had both reses. It's fine. Then you want to lust as soon as the boss comes down.
Pot.
This is where the traps go to the wall.
Yep. So you can hear the call there. The way that this phase works is, I'll let it play for a second.
Ready to move. Move.
So this is the first bad overlap for the tank. So you can see balls are spawning. By the time that the tank gets to the corner, the balls will already be there. So there's 3 things happening. This tank needs to get past this wave of balls. Like I said, either with a blink or a bop, or if you're a demon hunter, you can glide around. These chained players need to keep this pattern, but we have them go to the opposite end of the room wherever the balls are spawning every single time. Additionally to that, the entire raid needs to move to where the balls are spawning and where we're killing the ball and hug that first ball.
Get to the ball.
Lots of movement.
Ball. Good, just get ready to dodge. Traps to the corner.
So that corner is still our home base.
Careful of the traps on the ground.
Yeah, so you hear a call of be careful on the traps on the ground. We had a pull where we should have killed it, I think 20 or 30 pulls ago, And what happened is players weren't paying attention. They ran over a trap while the tank was exploding in a trap, and we wipe. So the entirety of last phase is really just a check to see if you're going to choke or not. I think the mechanics are pretty easy to understand.
You ready for the wave?
So once again, I'm playing this super patiently.
Just let Myth break. Alright, ball.
So we get pretty lucky in terms of the ball spawns. So the players that get the traps, they're going to be going to like the very south end of the room, and the tank's going to be dropping off in this far left corner.
Hug.
And for the entirety of this phase, you have to be hugging the wall. So we lose a number of players there. It's either A, from damage, or B, players getting too close to the ball and they think their character's farther away. It's kind of hard to see in this frame, but like throughout the video, you'll see I have like a crosshair right here where my character is. It makes it a lot easier to be damaging the ball, because it's just easier to like figure out where your character is in like very clustered situations.
I want you to bark me on this next throw shovel.
You ready to go through? Go.
Bark me. Let Nith break these. Get ready to dodge. Get ready to go to the ball. Hug the ball. Ball. Break this ball, guys. Everything on it. Get ready to go through.
Next trap's in the middle of the room.
Yep.
So you heard the call there. The third set of traps in P3 have to go towards the middle of the room. And the reason for that being is the boss is going to enrage pretty soon. And if the way the enrage works is that the room will start filling up from the outer, and then it'll start taking up a quadrant, more quadrants, and like the last possible place to be is where our orange marker is. So in order for like not to get overlapped with the blow up from the traps, you want to place the traps towards the middle of the room. But like we were so far ahead of DPS, and even with, I think we have 5 dead right now, so this boss really isn't a DPS check anymore. We were definitely
Next traps, you're going towards the middle, so go past this and then middle. So everything to live. Don't break.
I'm going to call everything to live. You don't have to break the traps. I'm going to turn it down because we kind of nerd scream.
Traps.
Yeah, that's the fight. I think the big key to this fight is the intermissions. I think that is what's going to take the most proc time. It's just going to take time for players to realize how to do the dance, like the rhythm of the baits, know what to do in high pressure situations, where you have to dodge a swirly, there's a ball next to you and there's a wave of spikes. But cool, thanks for watching, guys. I will have a link to my Twitch in the description, and then a few other people from my guild, I'll also include their Twitch. So, thanks for watching.